QxG.theognis.
All right, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for game number 1 between mouz and Quantic down here at the 6 o'clock position on Shattered Temple. We have, hailing from Team mouz, our yellow Protoss player, that is HasuObs. And his opponent at the 12 o'clock position from Quantic Gaming, making his second appearance in Team Arena Challenge, that is TheognisS. If you guys will remember, he was actually the first person to play Thorzane from Thorzane's all-kill of QIM in the first best-of-9 for the finals last season, and actually was the closest, believe it or not, of all the QIM players to actually beating Thorzane. Wow. He just didn't push quick enough. And before Thorzane had finished up his siege mode.
He's been competing for a long time. I remember casting a lot of his games back on some NA online events way back at the end of 2010, early 2011, back when he was on Requiem, I believe it was one of his older teams.
Yes, you're correct.
So I've been watching this guy for a while, watching him kind of progress, and he is a good Terran player. You know, one thing I wanted to mention is HasuObs. That good luck have fun from him was so fast after the split. I sometimes wonder when I see that, is their APM really that high? Or do they just have it sort of copied to the clipboard to, you know, control paste into it? You know what I have copied to my clipboard whenever I ladder?
What's that?
/dance.
/dance?
I do. I don't want to like mistype it, so I have it like control there. So if I'm just like doing things, I can be like enter, control V, enter, and then I can go back to whatever I was doing.
No, I really do think some of these players though do have APM that high. I mean, especially sitting behind some people and just watching them play on a regular basis. It's pretty ridiculous. And when you think, you know, they've done that split thousands of times, they know how to execute that in their sleep. So,
well, you know who has the fastest APM I've ever seen in real life for a foreigner was Last Shadow. That kid's hands are like a million miles an hour. It's insane how fast he plays. And he's faster, I would say, than like 90% of the Korean players I've seen too.
Wow.
Maybe even more than that. I mean, yeah, literally one of the fastest players I've ever seen. It's really, if you ever get a chance to like stand behind Last Shadow and watch him play, it's fun.
All right. Well, it looks like our strategies are starting to take a little bit of shape here. TheognisS is going to bypass gas and go into a gasless 1 Rax Fast Expand build. His opponent, on the other hand, has, well, it's pretty standard fare. We're going to see what HasuObs is feeling like now. If you guys remember, he had a very great performance over at NASL, the live finals as well, and was going after a lot of Colossus timings and things like that. It's a very upgrade-oriented play, though. A lot of double forge builds, things like that.
Yeah, those are really popular right now. They're really, really strong. The double forge, I mean, if the Terran doesn't prepare for it or isn't able to put on any early pressure, can just absolutely crush in the late game. So yeah, we do see a lot of Protoss players going for that. Meantime, we see TheognisS doing a very safe, very basic build, just going for that 1 Rax gasless expand. He's got the bunker down there so he doesn't lose any early Marines to Stalkers or anything like that. Oh, it looks like it's going to be a 1-gate expand from HasuObs as well. So pretty normal, safe kind of macro openings from both of these guys.
Yep, allows him to start that warp gate research so much earlier, even if he's a little short on units. But, of course, I do believe he knows that his opponent is going for that very fast expansion. Well, no, actually ducked in there and hasn't seen anything after that. So.
Yeah, I don't know if he had his probe in there long enough to see that the gas hadn't been taken at the normal time. If the probe was still in there, that would give him a pretty good clue. But yeah, he may have a bit of a mystery on his hands as to what TheognisS is doing right now.
And this is kind of an interesting build out of TheognisS as well. He went one Rax Fast expand straight into a gas right afterwards before barracks number 2 and 3, but only a single gas, so he had enough to put up a reactor first of all.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually been seeing players do this variation a little bit more often lately. It gets you that higher Marine count early on and just makes you stay a little bit safer. Doesn't make a huge difference, excuse me, but it's something that a lot of Terran players have kind of been throwing in there.
All right, well, already a forward pylon going down for HasuObs right now. TheognisS not really scouting forward after that SEV died at his opponent's base. He did pick up on the time of the expansion, though, so TheognisS should have a pretty good clue as to what his opponent is doing. We see 2 more gates coming out with a second gas now for HasuObs. Still just 1 gas at the moment, though, for TheognisS. Looks like HasuObs wants to try and move in a little bit. He's got a couple of Stalkers sitting here with his Zealot in tow.
I think he's kind of trying to test the front and see if he can get TheognisS to move out with some of his units just so he can kind of see what he has. Because if I am correct, I believe that HasuObs doesn't really know if there's an expansion yet or not. I mean, with the bunker placement, he can make a pretty good educated guess, but he doesn't know for sure. So he wants to get in there and see what units TheognisS has right now. And looks like he's going to put on a little bit of pressure here.
Yeah, because I think we've all seen plenty of Terran players that have thrown the bunker down at the front just to hide that very aggressive 1-1-1 sitting in the back. So. But for now, this is a pretty predictable build now out of THEOGNIS. He's on 3 racks, researching upgrades. He does actually have Concussive Shell first. Oh, it looks like HasuObs going to try and push his way in. That bunker is going to die pretty quickly before the SCVs get there. Some of the units are being pushed back at the moment. These are pretty fragile Stalkers, as the Zealot did die in front first. A couple more bunkers being thrown at the back as quick as possible. SCVs continue to be pulled off the line. HasuObs getting himself a couple of extra worker kills. Supplies about even for both our players, but with those extra 4 worker kills, looks like he has started to even up the economic difference from that quicker expand out of THEOGNIS.
That's amazing just how much pressure the Protoss player can put on the Terran player with just this 3 barracks aggression. If you don't have 2 bunkers, you're going to end up in situations like this a lot where you have to pull SCVs, you're going to lose some SCVs,
yeah.
You're going to lose any bunkers you try to construct. You just don't have a very high Marauder count at this point if you go for this kind of opening. So really good decision by HasuObs to get in there and try to abuse this.
Yeah, and it looks like a couple of Zealots are going to go down at first, which is going to allow THEOGNIS to engage this army a lot better here in just a second. He does now have his bunker down, and I assume he's going to lift this up here in a second as he runs the SCVs away. That is indeed what he is going to do. Hopefully he can get those back home. Looks like HasuObs just trying to go right after that command center. Good decision to actually sack a few of the SCVs just to make sure that that orbital command stays up.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Good force field there by HasuObs, too, just to kind of make sure that the stuff that THEOGNIS has stays in his base. And now this is kind of a tricky position. Every Terran hates being in this position where you're like, all right, I want to bust down the ramp so bad, but if my units get force fielded in half, I'm just going to die, so I have to kind of play it patiently. And, you know, eventually THEOGNIS should be able to break out of this. Might need to wait till medevacs, and that's going to really hurt his economy. But, you know, it's not the end of the road quite yet, but still just a terrible feeling to be in this position as a Terran player.
And it looks like HasuObs feels secure now, not just to go ahead and throw down a Robo, but also just invest in all of his tech at once. Twilight Council and Double Forge coming at the same time. So he knows he's got the economic advantage. He knows that he's containing his opponent right now. And so he feels that he is comfortable enough to just invest in all the tech he needs at once. Look at that. Charge actually coming up now before putting out any more units.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he has definitely the ability to invest so much into this right now. He's got his opponent contained. Might just decide to turn around and go home here pretty soon here. It looks like he's moving away. Yeah, so he's just going to do that. There is obviously a timing as Terran where you can just kind of break down the ramp and go through your opponent's army. And if that happens, you don't lose a lot, then Protoss is vulnerable to counterattack. Oh, HasuObs brings his units back.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting.
Pick off those.
Because THEOGNIS would actually crush this out in the open, but I guess HasuObs gets himself a couple extra free kills there. Doesn't lose anything else with his army and just trudges back home after that. Yep,
just trying to pick off those units that were trapped outside by the force field. And that's not a bad thing to do. I mean, he didn't lose anything by doing it.
Yeah.
And right now, still a bit of a supply lead for THEOGNIS, and he should have been keeping up on his SCV production. So economically, with mules added onto that, he should be able to get right back into things pretty quickly. What is the income right now for the 2 players? Yeah,
let's see here. Yeah, it's
not pretty even once the mules kick in.
Yeah, not too far behind there for THEOGNIS, and he does have a few upgrades coming. As the combat shields is done, looks like he has not gotten +1 in any way, shape, or form. Thought it may have been canceled here, as I thought I saw a shadow of that up a second ago. But anyway, it looks like HasuObs going to his 3rd base as well. Destructible debris cleared up for both players now, and we'll see if we get a 3rd base out of THEOGNIS to try and catch up very quickly.
Yeah, I think he... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's just adding in 2 more barracks right now as he puts down a couple more gas.
Yeah, I think he went for medevacs pretty quick just because he didn't know how long he was going to be contained. He wanted to have the ability to get out and maybe do a drop or something like that. But if he can hold HasuObs, keep him from getting that gold base, it's going to help. Otherwise, he's got a little bit of catch-up to do. You know, like you mentioned, he doesn't have any engineering base yet, so his upgrades are going to be behind. It's going to be a good position for HasuObs, and his army might end up being a little bit out of position here, too. It's a strong Bioforce, and he does have a couple medevacs out.
Whoa! I think he just stimmed up with everything now.
He did.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, he's got to engage us right now. Charge is actually finished. That's going to make this army pretty powerful, along with that 1-1 now for HasuObs. It looks like he does have a sentry up at the front with Guardian Shield. It's not being shot down initially, so these units that are inside are taking so little damage from these ranged units. The medevacs did actually fall.
Yeah, we saw HasuObs target down those medevacs with his stalkers before doing anything else, and that is just going to make THEOGNIS have to go right home like we saw, because if you don't have medevacs and you've already stimmed like that, your units just need to run, especially when there's Zealot charge out. You just have no chance of beating that army.
It looks like THEOGNIS is going to make a big drop here in a second. HasuObs has Templar Archives coming up along with his third base now, so he's not going to do this just sitting on 2 base, going to press his advantage a bit. THEOGNIS actually putting up his gold expansion as well. The command center is being constructed in a little more defensive, safe position, of course. He still does have a supply advantage lead, but or a slight supply advantage at the moment, but he is falling way behind on upgrades. Just +1 armor coming up at the moment. And his opponent's moving up to 2-2.
Yeah, we'll see if this drop does any damage. The army for HasuObs is pretty far out of position, so he could try to snipe one of the forges here. We'll have to see how he handles these zealots. They're going to go down pretty quick. Yeah, and some... okay, so some more zealots do get warped in. For some reason, I thought those were probes for a second. Those are the strongest probes I've ever seen.
Go probes! Wow. And they're charging as well. Oh, my God. Now, we do have a Ghost Academy up now for THEOGNIS. So he's going to be on 5 racks with a single starport into Ghosts as well. He's doing a nice job making sure he's never supply blocked or anything like that. Dropping once again, as a matter of fact. Just going to try and pick off a couple additional units. Looks like he may get himself a Zealot kill here in a bit as well. Templar came in, but I've got to say, wasn't enough to kill that medevac. So with just the loss of another couple of units, THEOGNIS picks up and kills a couple additional probes.
Yep. The only problem here is that killing probes really isn't going to do a whole lot for THEOGNIS at this point. I mean, with 3 Nexuses up, with all the chrono boosts that HasuObs can use if he chooses to, losing a couple workers here and there is not going to be a very big deal. Now, charge lots just handle the drop so well. What THEOGNIS really needs to concentrate on is just getting his upgrades going, taking as many expansions as he can with staying safe, and just getting that big army prepared for that late game engagement. You know, making sure he has a lot of ghosts, a lot of EMP, and you know, especially a lot of upgrades as fast as he can, really.
And we have +3 on the way now for HasuObs. He is so far ahead on upgrades. THEOGNIS just finishing up +1 armor. That's it. So there's a significant upgrade advantage. He has Ghost popping out, but of course they're not going to have enough for EMP right away, as Mobius Reactor has not been researched quite yet. So even though HasuObs, yes, it looks like, HasuObs is down in supply, but he's actually significantly farther ahead in this game.
Yep, and he's not going to really have too much trouble killing this gold base either. The Zealots do get a little bit out of position, but the upgrades are just so good for HasuObs right now. Nice force fields too, trapping some of those units to the side, and without EMP, this is going to be pretty easy for the Protoss player to win.
Yeah, yes it is. HasuObs continuing to press his advantage, now significantly ahead at the moment, even in supply in addition to just upgrades and everything else. He did actually deny this third for so long. There's just no army sitting up here for THEOGNIS, and it looks like HasuObs is going to go off to a quick win in game number 1 for mouzSports.
Yep, that's right. Really did a good job using that 3 racks, or 3 gate aggression early on to give himself a big lead. Not a lot THEOGNIS can do from it. GG, and that is it. HasuObs takes game 1.